You guys remember this hotel, Park 55 San Francisco Hotels? It's like two buildings combined together with nearly 3,000 rooms. Location's pretty fire. You're right next door to like the biggest San Francisco mall, which by the way now is completely closed, including the Nordstrom rack right next door. And just a few blocks down, you have one of the biggest open air drug markets. So yeah, this hotel's location is completely busted. Used to be a fantastic hotel location. Like we're talking about probably the biggest hotel in all of California, like 3,000 rooms. That is not a small hotel. That's a gigantic hotel that spans nearly a whole entire one of these blocks. So guess what happened? They essentially defaulted on a $725 million loan, essentially saying that there's no tourism, nobody came here for a vacation, and all of the investors who used to come to San Francisco for tech conferences and investing all went to other cities. Like even Vegas, who's right next door to San Francisco, is getting business from San Francisco. Vegas, who's traditionally not even a city for tech, it's literally just gambling. They have some of the biggest tech events right now, all at the cost of the San Francisco Bay Area. So Park executives are laying out the next steps after the San Francisco default. In fact, they even issued a special dividend because they stopped making payments to this loan, which is a pretty crazy thing to do. So if you check out this, what they're saying is they have a bunch of hotels, they have a bunch of properties, and without being in San Francisco, they don't have that much burden anymore. And having these hotels in San Francisco, according to the company, lost them a lot of money. And now, since they don't own these properties anymore and they've given them back to the lender, the company has proudly announced a special dividend of 77 cents per share just by not having the building. And they're giving these dividends to shareholders, which is something that's unheard of because it's usually like you buy an extra property and that property becomes a little bit lucrative and then you increase your dividends. I've never seen a company in the real estate market who dumps a massive hotel in one of the biggest tech cities in the world and then says that they've saved so much money that they're offering an even fatter dividend to investors. Just think about that in your head. This is how bad the city is getting. I mean, you could dump properties, take humongous few $100 million losses. If you just dump the property, take the L right now, you're up in the next few months. Which is a really crazy thing to say because generally if you go to places like, New York, go to places like Los Angeles, Austin, if you dump big properties like these, you are owing a lot of money. You're not saving any money, especially if you get outcompeted by someone else. But for San Francisco, it seems like the more properties you dump, the better, pretty much the better off you are. And it's not just them doing it, right? If you look at what Wells Fargo is doing, they actually sold a building right next to Trans-America Pyramid Building. I think Wells Fargo has a building around this sector, right next to like the Consulate General of Japan. And they sold their building for a massive 60 to 70% loss. They sold it for roughly like 40 to 50 million. They originally listed for 160 million. Even Wells Fargo is like, okay, let's just sell this building for an insane loss and we should be fine in the next few years. Because guess what's happening in San Francisco? They're really screwing this up because number one, they have insane amounts of property taxes. I mean, come on. The property prices aren't even worth that much anymore. In fact, I could say these properties are junk properties. Oh, that property, you're trying to tax it and you say it's a valuation of $100 million. Surprise, the valuation is really just $30 million. But they refuse to lower property taxes even by a little bit. So that's number one. Number two, there's no tenants. There's not a single tenant in sight. And also, insurance, especially home insurance, for buildings like these in San Francisco is enormous. Not only that, a lot of buildings actually pay earthquake insurance because it's literally a city with a lot of earthquakes, right? It's right on like that little ring of fire earthquake loop, whatever it is. It's a very expensive place to maintain buildings. And the main part is nobody's coming to the city, right? All the top investors, all the vacationers, all the construction companies have left the city. And if you check out scenes like this, it really just reassures you to not invest in the city. If you look at this, right after APEC, the cities go back to a homeless, drug-addicted street. If you look at some of these images and videos, it's actually pretty freaky. What's crazy about this is this isn't in like a far side of town. This is in downtown. This is like a couple blocks from like the Twitter building. And you can see drug addicts are everywhere, drug dealings are everywhere. And if you ask me, this is probably not the safest place to be in the US, given what it looks like. It's just a massive drug scene, and cops can't really do anything either. I don't really see an arrest either. And guess what's happening? The IKEA store that recently opened up right next door to all of this has little to no business. And I wonder why, because literally the street where they sell drugs is just like a 6-minute walk to the IKEA store and an 8-minute walk to the Park Hotels and Resorts, who recently defaulted on nearly $1 billion worth of loans. And by the way, this is right next to The Line, which is a brand new condo building that opened up, and they're trying to sell studio apartments for $500,000. And you're 6 minutes away from one of the biggest open air drug markets in the United States. Yeah, I'm pretty sure no one's going to buy in the condos. No one's coming to this IKEA place. It's completely deserted for a reason, and it's because of the intensive crime. In the daytime, it's okay, but at night, it literally just turns to this, right? So San Francisco just doesn't really make any sense. And of course, they just keep slapping band-aids on the situation, never really addressing the core issues. I think San Francisco really needs some insanely big changes to get things up and rolling again. I really hope the city does change because it's a fantastic city. The location, I don't care what you say, it's a very good location. It's a peninsula. It's surrounded by water. There's beaches, there's parks, there's great weather, there's fog. You know, it's right next to Silicon Valley, all these big companies. I think San Francisco could really thrive if they fix some of these problems. They don't have to fix it entirely if they just have a 50% fix or a 50% decline in all the craziness. I guarantee you a lot of these other companies are coming back. And check this out. Not only that, a lot of the big landlords, like these guys, right? These big landlords who are trying to rent out their offices, they can't do it. In fact, some landlords are offering some of the nuttiest concessions. Some landlords are offering 3 to 4 months of free rent in San Francisco, especially the office guys. In fact, office tenants are having the massive upper hand. And it's not just in San Francisco, but a lot of other office markets like Houston, Dallas, and even some of the Florida cities. But San Francisco is especially bad because San Francisco, Oakland has vacancy rates of hitting closer to 40%. It rises up 2 to 3% on average per quarter. And yeah, landlords are like, you know what, man, we'll just give you a bunch of free rent. Please stay here and please don't leave. Because this is what's happening here. A lot of these landlords of these massive buildings are cutting prices enormously just to get people back. And here's the thing. There's only been an exodus of companies for San Francisco. It has never been an inflow of companies. Yes, San Francisco got ChatGPT and OpenAI. They got a few hundred workers. But what about the tens of thousands that recently left? No one's going to address that, huh? So this is what's happening here. You know, Park Hotel Resorts, you know, these park executives, they're in a better spot. They like it a lot. Imagine saving so much money from dumping these hotels. You issue some really juicy dividends out, which is fantastic. Thanks for watching, guys. Comment below and see you later for some really amazing videos. Subscribe for more.